I had planned over 500 perfect weddings, every detail flawless, every couple radiating happiness, every moment captured like a fairy tale. Today was supposed to be my masterpiece, the Hartwell-Morrison wedding at the Grand Ballroom. 300 guests, $2 million budget, the wedding of the century. But 20 minutes before the ceremony, I found a letter in the bride's dressing room. A letter that wasn't meant for me to find. A letter that proved my own marriage of 12 years was built on lies, manipulation, and a conspiracy I never saw coming. Hello, I'm Victoria Sterling. I'm 42 years old and I'm Manhattan's most successful wedding planner. For the past 15 years, I've planned weddings for celebrities, billionaires, members of royal families. Sterling Wedding Company is the result of my passion for perfection. Every wedding is a work of art. Every couple is a success story. Every event is an example of flawlessness. My husband, David, has been both my life and business partner for 12 years. He handles the numbers and logistics. I handle creativity and client relations. A perfect team, a perfect marriage, a perfect life. Or so I thought. That morning, I went to the office early as usual. We had the Hartwell-Morrison wedding at the Grand Ballroom at 4 p.m. Isabella Hartwell, daughter of the famous fashion designer, princess of Manhattan society. This wedding was going to be the pinnacle of my career. Victoria, the flower arrangements arrived, said my assistant Sophie, running in, and the hairstylist for the bride is sick. We had to send a replacement. I was used to dealing with these kinds of last-minute crises. No problem, I said calmly. Check the replacement hairstylist's portfolio. If it's suitable, we'll approve. How are the flowers? Breathtaking, Sophie said, her eyes sparkling. 10,000 white roses, orchids, and baby's breath, exactly as you requested. I smiled. This was what I loved most about this job, making every detail perfect, making couples' dreams come true. Until 2 p.m., everything went according to plan. Flowers were placed, table arrangements were checked, musicians rehearsed. Even David arrived on time, which was rare lately. Excellent work, darling, he said, kissing me. Isabella is very happy. Thanks. Did you handle the accounting? Of course. Everything's under control. His smile was as sincere as ever. How could he act so natural? At 3 p.m., I went to the bridal suite for the bride's preparation. Expecting to find Isabella, the room was empty. The hairstylist was packing up to leave. Where's the bride? I asked. She went out for photos with her family. She'll be back in 20 minutes. Left alone, I did a final check of the room. Everything looked perfect. Makeup table organized, wedding dress hung up, shoes in place. Then I saw a white envelope on top of the antique secretary in the corner. Mrs. Sterling was written on the envelope. Strange. Why would a letter for me be left here? When I opened the letter, my heart almost stopped. Dear Victoria, my hands are trembling as I write these lines. I've wanted to tell you the truth for 8 years, but I didn't have the courage. Today, I can't stand it anymore. David's real wife, is me, Heide, Sarah Morrison. Yes, today's bride's mother. David married me 12 years ago. That beautiful day when I wore a wedding dress, took vows of love, joined our lives together, was the day before you started being with him. David told me he was on a business trip when he actually went to live with you. He told me he needed to work at the New York office a few days a week. I believed him. I believed for 8 years. We never canceled our marriage certificate. Legally, I'm still David's wife. I had to be in the same venue as you at my daughter's wedding because I can't tell my daughter the truth. Isabella loves her father very much. I don't want to ruin her wedding. But you need to know the truth. David is cheating on both you and me. Maybe there are others too. Please forgive me for telling you this, but I can't live with this lie anymore. Sarah, the letter fell from my hand. I couldn't breathe. This was impossible. David had been married to me for 12 years. We lived together, worked together, we were together. Wait, Sarah Morrison, Isabella's mother, today's bride's mother, and David's real wife? My mind was racing. I tried to remember 12 years ago. How did I meet David? I was very busy then, starting my new business. David traveled a lot for consulting work. We were only together a few days a week. Oh God, what if we weren't really married? What if we were just living together? Did we ever have an official wedding ceremony? I tried to remember. No, we never had a church wedding. David always said, bureaucracy is unnecessary. We're already living like we're married. I was a romantic person. I thought documents weren't more important than love. But I'd been using the surname Sterling for 12 years, on my business cards, passport, everywhere. Could I have never been legally married? The door opened. Sophie came in. Victoria, Isabella's back. She needs to get ready immediately. 15 minutes until the ceremony starts. Words wouldn't come out of my mouth. Are you okay? You look very pale. Sophie, I said, trembling, can you find Sarah Morrison? Isabella's mother. I need to speak with her. Now, Isabella's getting ready. Urgent, please. Sophie left looking confused. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. Victoria Sterling, 42-year-old successful businesswoman, but maybe I was never a Sterling. 5 minutes later, Sarah Morrison entered the room. A middle-aged, elegant woman. Brown hair in a bun, black cocktail dress. When she made eye contact with me, her face tensed. You found the letter, she said quietly. Is this real? My voice was barely a whisper. Sarah nodded. She took a paper from her purse, our marriage certificate, 2010, David Morrison and Sarah Morrison. I took the paper with trembling hands. It was real. Everything was real. Why now, I asked. Why did you wait 8 years? Sarah closed her eyes. I was scared. Isabella was young. She needed her father. David provided financial support, but my daughter grew up, graduated from college, has a career. I can't stand it anymore. Does David know that you know? No. He still thinks I'm the naive wife. Suddenly, anger exploded inside me. 12 years! He made a fool of me for 12 years. Not just you, me too, both of us. There was a knock on the door. Sophie's voice. Victoria, the ceremony is starting. 1 minute, I yelled. I turned to Sarah. What are you going to do now? I don't know. You needed to know. Is David here? Yes, he's sitting on the groom's side, of course, as a family friend. There was no end to this madness. My husband, or the man I thought was my husband, was here today at another woman's daughter's wedding, while that woman was his real wife, and I was... Victoria. Sophie knocked on the door again. Isabella is coming. I stood up. My professional priorities kicked in. Sarah, please don't tell anyone anything, at least until the wedding is over. Let's not ruin Isabella's day. Sarah nodded. Of course. You needed to know. I left the room. Isabella was coming down the hallway, looking like an angel in her wedding dress. Victoria, am I ready? Do I look perfect? I tried to smile. You look breathtaking, darling. But my mind was elsewhere. Among the room full of people was David, and none of those people might know the truth. Or the wedding ceremony began. I stood in the back as usual, making sure everything was going perfectly. But this time my eyes were only searching for David. I saw him. He was sitting on the right side, third row, in his handsome suit with his usual confident demeanor. When he saw me, he smiled and winked. My stomach turned. When the officiants started speaking, my attention wandered. As the bride and groom said I do, I was remembering memories with David. The day we first met, our first kiss, the day we moved in together. Was it all a lie? When the ceremony ended, the couples kissed amid applause. Everyone stood up. It was time for photos and celebration. This was my time to act. I walked toward David. When I reached him, he took my arm. Great organization, darling. Everything's perfect. David, I need to talk to you. Now? The celebration is starting. Now. The harshness in my voice surprised him. I took him to the balcony. When we were alone, I turned to him. Do you know Sarah Morrison? David's expression changed. Very slightly, but it changed. Sarah Morrison? Isabella's mother? Of course, she's our client. Nothing else? What do you mean, Victoria? David, I'm the woman who thought she was married to you for 12 years, but I learned that Sarah Morrison has been your wife since 2010. David's face went white. Victoria, this is very absurd. Where did you get such an idea? I saw your marriage certificate. A long silence followed. David ran his fingers through his hair. Victoria, how many years, David? How many years have you been living like this? You don't understand. It's a complicated situation. I don't understand. My voice was rising. The woman you've been cheating on for 12 years doesn't understand. It's not cheating. Sarah and I, things were difficult. You're a wonderful woman. I wanted to be with you, but you wanted to stay married to her. Victoria, please. Suddenly everything fell into place. Why he always traveled, why he didn't stay home some nights, why we never had an official wedding, why he rarely came to family gatherings. How many more are there? I asked. What? How many more women are there, David? Is it just Sarah and me? Or... Victoria, you're being ridiculous. I'm not being ridiculous. You're a professional liar. You've been performing perfectly for 12 years. David dropped his shoulders. What do you want? I want the truth. Okay. I'm married to Sarah, legally. We got married in 2010. Then I met you. I fell in love, but I couldn't leave Sarah. Isabella was there. Sarah was depressed. You've been living 2 lives for 12 years. Yes. Did you ever love me? David remained silent. This silence was more painful than any answer. What will happen to our business? I asked. Victoria, business is different. We're a great team. No, David, not anymore. I went back inside. My heart was beating wildly, but I had made my decision. The wedding had to end, guests had to celebrate, Isabella had to be happy. Then we would settle accounts, but things didn't go as I planned at all. Sarah Morrison found me at the bar. You talked to David? Yes. What did he say? He admitted the truth. Sarah nodded. Victoria, there's something else you need to know. My heart tightened. What? David isn't just living with the 2 of us. My world spun. What do you mean? For 3 years, he's been with someone in Los Angeles too, named Julia. As far as I know, she thinks the same as you. This was too much now. My knees were shaking. How do you know? I hired a private investigator to find out where David was. I got the report last week. Why are you telling me these things? Because we're both victims, and together we can stop him. In the middle of this conversation, Sophie came up to us. Victoria, is there a problem? You look very tense, and David is looking for you. Tell him I'm busy. But, Sophie, please, I don't want to talk to anyone for an hour. Sophie walked away confused. Sarah looked at me. What are we going to do? I don't know. I really didn't know. How was I going to deal with this situation? Victoria, Sarah spoke in a low voice, I think we should tell everyone about this. What? Here? At the wedding? Why not? David has humiliated both of us for all these years. Now it's his turn. No, I can't ruin Isabella's wedding. So what happens then? David continues as usual, we stay silent, and he finds new women. She was right, but doing it here, now wasn't right. Give me some time, Sarah. Let's wait for the right moment. Sarah nodded, but didn't look satisfied. The rest of the wedding was a nightmare for me. Smiling, talking to guests, acting normal when passing by David, it was no different from acting. The wedding ended at 11 p.m. As guests said their goodbyes and left, I was handling the final details when David came up to me. Victoria, let's go home. Let's talk. Which home, David? How many homes do you have? Please, let's be together tonight. We'll sort everything out tomorrow. No, David. You go to Sarah's or Julia's or the others whose names I don't know. David's face reddened. Sarah told you these things. Yes, and much more. Victoria, listen. No, David, I listened for 12 years. Now it's my turn to speak. I looked around. A few waiters were still clearing tables, but most people had left. David Morrison, or whatever your name is. Tomorrow I'm meeting with my lawyer. I'm dissolving our business partnership. We're dividing the clients between us. I'm taking whatever money I have in our joint accounts. Victoria, this is so extreme. Extreme? Wasn't deceiving me for 12 years extreme? We built this business together, Sterling Wedding together. Sterling Wedding is over, David. Starting tomorrow, I'll be Victoria Blake, my maiden name, and I'll establish Victoria Blake Wedding. David's mouth fell open. All the clients will come with me, I continued, because you're just a fraudster who calculates numbers. I was the one who was creative, built relationships, gave trust. Victoria, calm down. These things aren't as easy as you think. A man who managed to handle 3 women simultaneously for 12 years shouldn't lecture me about easy or difficult. As I said these words, Sarah Morrison approached. David, she said in a cold voice, I also have things to discuss with you. David was caught between the 2 of us. He was sweating. Sarah, Victoria, please. I'm filing for divorce, Sarah said decisively, and I'll demand alimony. You neglected me for 12 years. You stole money from me that you spent on other women. I love you both, David said desperately. Sarah laughed, a bitter laugh. Love, David? You don't know what love is. She's right, I said. You're just a manipulative narcissist. At that moment, Isabella and her new husband came up to us. They were still in their wedding dress and tuxedo. Mom, Victoria, thank you so much. It was a perfect wedding. Both Sarah and I immediately started smiling. We couldn't spoil Isabella's happiness. "We're so happy, darling," Sarah said, hugging her daughter. "Victoria, you're amazing. My next wedding will be with you too," Isabella said jokingly. "Of course, darling," I said, smiling. But inside I was adding, "I'll never have such a secret again." After Isabella left, David tried to speak again. "It doesn't have to end this way. We can find a way." "What way, David?" Sarah asked. "Should we wait another 12 years? Or should we wait for Julia to join us too?" I said. David shook his head. "You don't understand. The situation is complicated." "No, David," I said decisively. "The situation is very simple. You're a fraudster. We're victims, but not anymore." Sarah supported me. "Victoria is right. It's over now, David." That night I went to a hotel. I couldn't bear to stay at home. The home I shared with David. Sitting in the hotel, I reviewed my 12-year life. The truths were shocking but also explanatory. There was always something strange about David's behavior. Business trips, phone calls, distant moods on some nights. But I had wanted the illusion of a perfect marriage so much that I ignored all the signs. The next morning I went to work. David wasn't there. Sophie looked confused. "Victoria, where's David? We have the Parker wedding today." "Sophie, I need to talk to you." I explained the situation to her. Of course, without going into too much detail. "So you and David won't be working together anymore?" "No, Sophie, I'm starting my own company." "What about me? If you want, come with me. I'll increase your salary." Sophie immediately agreed. David was very tense lately anyway. "You're much better." That day, I met with my lawyer. The situation was legally simple. Since David and I were never married, there was no divorce. I just needed to exit the business partnership. "How will the client list be divided?" the lawyer asked. My clients always wanted to work with me anyway. David just did the background work. This was true. The relationships I'd built over 15 years, the trust, the brand I'd created in my work, it was all mine. A week later, I officially established Victoria Blake Wedding. Logo, website, business cards, everything was ready. My first client wasn't surprising. Mrs. Dunn Henderson came for her daughter's wedding. "Victoria, I heard you separated from David. You did well. That man always seemed strange to me." "Strange? Yes. He traveled too much. Sometimes I heard him talking to other women on the phone." So other people had noticed too. Only I had been blind. A month later, business was very good. My old clients had found me. New clients were starting to come. I was now my own boss, making my own decisions. I continued meeting with Sarah too. We had become friends. Our shared pain had brought us together. "Any news from David?" I had asked her. "The divorce case is ongoing. He's living with Julia in LA now." "Wow, so she needs to learn the truth too." She already learned. I reached out to her too. It was impossible not to admire Sarah's courage. 3 months later, Victoria Blake Wedding organized its first big wedding in Central Park, 400 people, a wonderful organization. During the wedding, I stopped for a moment and looked around. Laughing people, happy couple, perfect decoration. This is what real love looked like. That evening, sitting at home, I was thinking about the past. The 12 years seemed lost, but at the same time, they were a great lesson. I now knew myself, knew my values, knew what I would accept and what I wouldn't. Sarah called. "Victoria, I got news about David's other woman." "What is it?" "Julia also started her own business, an interior design company. She's completely separated from David." I laughed. "So David is completely alone now. He deserves it," Sarah said. "Now he has to deal with his real personality." 6 months later, business had grown so much that I needed to get a new office. In addition to Sophie, I hired 2 more assistants. At the opening party, many of my clients and friends were there. Sarah came too. "I really like this place," she said, touring my office. "It doesn't resemble the David days at all." She was right. This place completely reflected my taste. Bright, modern, but warm, just like my new life. "Victoria," Sarah said, "I want to tell you something." "What?" "You've been a source of inspiration for me. Your strength, your starting over gave me courage too. What do you want to do?" "I'm thinking of opening an art gallery. It was always my dream, but David always prevented it." "Great idea. You shouldn't spare any effort." A year later, Victoria Blake Wedding had become one of Manhattan's most sought-after wedding planning companies. We now organize not just weddings, but corporate events too. Most importantly, I was now focused on being completely honest in my work. In my first meeting with every couple, I said this wedding should reflect your real love. Not showy, but real. This approach was very appealing to my clients because they were now looking for real happiness, not fake perfection. During that period, I hadn't heard from David at all until an old client, Mrs. Patterson, called and gave me shocking news. Victoria, I saw David the other day. Where? In Las Vegas. He was organizing a wedding with another woman, young, blonde. And listen to this. He was introducing himself as the owner of Blake Wedding. My coffee cup almost fell from my hand. What did you say? He gave me his own card. It said Blake Wedding, David Blake, founder on it. This was now crossing the line. David hadn't just cheated on me, now he was stealing my name too. I immediately called my lawyer. Is this possible? I asked. Blake is my maiden name and he can't use my company name. You're right, Victoria. This is trademark infringement. We can file a lawsuit. File it immediately. 2 days later, I called Sarah and explained the situation. Victoria, we need to completely stop David now, Sarah said. He won't stop. He'll keep finding new ways. What do you suggest? Let's organize a conference, wedding industry conference. Let's invite everyone in the sector and let's tell everyone what David has done. This was a radical idea, but it made sense. If we didn't completely destroy David's reputation in the industry, he would continue to deceive other women. Sarah, this is very brave. Are you sure? Very sure. You know how to organize events, and I can find sponsors. We'll do it together. 3 months later, the Wedding Industry Ethics Conference was organized. At the Waldorf Astoria, Manhattan's most prestigious hotel, 500-person hall. The speaker list was impressive. Famous wedding planners, venue owners, photographers, florists. Everyone came. I was the last speaker at the conference. Topic: authenticity in wedding planning, my personal journey. When I stepped onto the stage, my heart was beating wildly. 500 people were watching me. There might be David supporters among them. Dear colleagues, I began, today I'm going to tell you a very personal story. This story is about deception, manipulation, and ultimately finding the truth. There was silence in the hall. For 12 years, I worked with David Sterling. I thought I was married to him. I thought we were a perfect team, until I learned last year David was married to another woman, legally, and probably had relationships with many other women. Whispers rose in the hall. This isn't just personal deception. This is also professional fraud. David was deceiving our clients too, using fake identities, stealing other companies' names, manipulating people. I turned up the microphone volume. Trust is everything in this industry. People entrust us with the most special day of their lives. If we abuse this trust, we harm not only ourselves, but the entire industry. Applause rose. First, a few people, then the entire hall. After my speech ended, dozens of people came up to me. People who had worked with David, who had been harmed by him. Victoria, you're very brave, said famous photographer Marcus Chen. David had defrauded me too. He owes me 3 months of payments. Me too, said florist Ana Rodriguez. He had given fake references. That night I understood that I wasn't David's only victim. There were dozens of people, and now we had all united. After the conference, David called me. There was anger in his voice. Victoria, what do you think you're doing? I'm telling the truth, David. You ruined my career. You ruined your own career. I just exposed it. This means war. No, David, this is already over. I hung up the phone, and it really was over. A week later, David's fake company in Las Vegas closed down. Our old partners in New York also completely distanced themselves from him. Sarah's divorce case also concluded in her favor. She received alimony and compensation. Victoria, she told me on the phone, I opened the gallery. My first exhibition is this week. Wonderful. Congratulations. I would never have found this courage without you. For 12 years, I worked with David Sterling. I thought I was married to him. I thought we were a perfect team. Until I learned last year, David was married to another woman, legally, and probably had relationships with many other women. Whispers rose in the hall. This isn't just personal deception. This is also professional fraud. David was deceiving our clients too, using fake identities, stealing other companies' names, manipulating people. I turned up the microphone volume. Trust is everything in this industry. People entrust us with the most special day of their lives. If we abuse this trust, we harm not only ourselves, but the entire industry. Applause rose. First a few people, then the entire hall. After my speech ended, dozens of people came up to me. People who had worked with David, who had been harmed by him. "Victoria, you're very brave," said famous photographer Marcus Chen. "David had defrauded me too. He owes me 3 months of payments." "Me too," said florist Ana Rodriguez. He had given fake references. That night, I understood that I wasn't David's only victim. There were dozens of people, and now we had all united. After the conference, David called me. There was anger in his voice. "Victoria, what do you think you're doing?" "I'm telling the truth, David. You ruined my career. You ruined your own career. I just exposed it. This means war." "No, David, this is already over." I hung up the phone, and it really was over. A week later, David's fake company in Las Vegas closed down. Our old partners in New York also completely distanced themselves from him. Sarah's divorce case also concluded in her favor. She received alimony and compensation. "Victoria," she told me on the phone, "I opened the gallery. My first exhibition is this week." "Wonderful. Congratulations. I would never have found this courage without you." That night, sitting alone in my office late, I thought about the past. That letter I found 18 months ago was the worst moment of my life. But it had also become the best thing that happened. Because thanks to that letter, I had learned the truth. And truth, no matter how painful, is always better than lies. David was now my past. I couldn't say I had forgiven him, but I wasn't angry with him anymore either. He was just a lesson to be learned from my life. My lesson was this: never blindly trust anything that looks perfect. Always ask questions. Always seek the truth. And most importantly, never be with anyone at the cost of losing yourself. Today, Victoria Blake Wedding operates in 15 cities. I have more than 50 employees. We organize more than 200 weddings per year. But what I'm most proud of isn't the numbers. What I'm most proud of are these words I say to couples at every wedding. This wedding should reflect your real love. There should be nothing fake, because real love, real happiness can only be built on honesty. When I say these words, I always remember that letter. The letter I found in Isabella's bridal suite, the letter that changed my life. That letter taught me that sometimes life's worst moments are harbingers of the most beautiful beginnings. Sometimes you need to be destroyed to be rebuilt stronger. And sometimes learning the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living in lies, because truth liberates. Lies only imprison. I am now free. And this freedom is much more valuable than 12 years of a lie-filled life.